In just a little while, it'll be the 76ers trying to break a 12-game losing streak in Toronto against the Raptors, who have the best record in the league, but are coming off a loss against the Denver Nuggets on Monday. Here's Philly head coach Brett Brown.
Coach, I know you said you have a selective amnesia from the last matchup here. How different is the team that you have tonight versus the one you had the first time around?
I mean, I think it's very different. But the fact is we haven't won up here. You know, we haven't won up here, and it's a combination of them being very good and, you know, us sort of growing our program. And I think last year's team, you could legitimately say would have been a fair fight. But we respect them, and I think the last game that we played this year, this team as it sits is very different.
Time with Kawhi in San Antonio and now coaching against him, how often did you find that teams offensively tried to avoid him, the defender, like whether that meant freezing out the guy that he was defending? Is that a real thing, or is that just kind of a myth?
Ask that question differently. I think I know what you're saying.
So, in essence,
would you avoid going at Kawhi's man because he's that good a defensive player?
Even if his man is a star?
Yeah, no, Kawhi is that good. But in relation to, you know, avoiding Kawhi because, say, he's guarding Jimmy Butler, that's not going to happen.
What, I feel like we've talked to you about Kawhi a lot, but like, what has Danny brought to this whole thing and what they do?
That's a really good question. And when I'm watching them, I think the same thing in that I think that Danny is a security blanket for Kawhi. It's a comfort level. It's a friend. It's somebody that has shared, you know, a lot of high-level experiences with Kawhi, championship-level experiences. And so I would assume, and this is just my guess, that Kawhi would feel like he's not on an island. You know, he's got a friend with him that's a hell of a player, that's defensive-oriented like Kawhi is. And I'm guessing it would be, you know, a peace of mind type thing that that Kawhi would have with Danny.
Is he the kind of guy that's just naturally underrated by people? Because the stuff he does is a little more subtle.
I think so. I think when we started studying him, and then, you know, we gave him a second chance. Really, he was in Cleveland, and we brought him back. And the thing that stood out a lot was he really could make shots. And then you started noticing how good defensively he was. And then you started realizing he's actually a good shot blocker, you know, from a guard position. And you started looking at the deflections he would get on the ball. And, you know, when you can make a shot and you can defend, a little bit how we used to see Robert Covington, you know, back in the day. Well, you start having Timmy, Tony, Manu, you know, you had that piece, and then Kawhi, that piece became really important. And a role type of player, an incredibly serviceable player. And I think over the years he's gained more appreciation with some of the things that I just said.
Brett Brown, the Philly head coach, and of course former Spurs assistant who worked with both Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green, answering questions from the Toronto reporters about those two guys and what they mean to this Raptor group. What has been Kawhi Leonard's impact on the Raptors so far? It's hard to argue with the record.
It's hard to argue with the record with and without him.
Yeah.
This Raptors team is so deep and talented. Nick Nurse has done such a fantastic job of continuing the development of some of those young guys and tapping into what's made them so effective. But I think the main difference with Kawhi is knowing that you have that true alpha, you know, a game closer. I go back to that Warriors-Raptors game where he and Kevin Durant are dueling down the stretch. There was no question where Kawhi was going on both ends of the floor at the end of those games. He's going to have the ball in his hands on offense, and he was going to be on the ball on Kevin Durant on the defensive end. And to me, that's been his big, you know, the big difference with Kawhi. I think Danny Green has been a much more subtle addition, but has been just as effective in his role as one of those complementary parts. He's been fantastic as a role player and another defender, you know, to add to that mix on an already good defensive team for Toronto, and a veteran shot maker that they've needed, you know, in terms of adding to that mix when you take DeMar DeRozan away and switch up some of those other parts. So I think both those guys have been exactly what you want them to be for the Raptors.
Man, I was talking with a friend the other day about the evolution of Kawhi Leonard. Steve Fisher was the coach at Michigan, right? Back in the day was
at San Diego State when he was there.
San Diego State, yeah.
So I remember Steve Fisher saying I went to recruit him, and he maybe said 3 words in the whole recruiting process.
Seems right.
Right? And
Yeah.
everything
Might be
matches.
3.5,
But he
2
saw long arms, the big old hands, the big old feet and everything, still had the braids and all that. But what he saw was someone that worked every day. So I had to remind people, he was a 4 and 5 man in college. Played the 5, right? So the fact that the Spurs saw the skill set, took him in the lab, and turned him into a bona fide best two-way player in our game. Not no argument when healthy. Now healthy, he's back guarding. You talk about the duel with him and Kevin Durant. He guarded him the whole game. Yes, Kevin made some big shots, but he was right there all game long, made the big shot. So now Brett Brown's telling everybody that this man right here, we know how good he is, but we're not going to try to shy away from him. So I like the way Brett Brown said, if he's guarding Jimmy Butler got to go at him. And let's see if it's going to be another one of those duels.
By the way, credit to the Spurs for identifying him the way they did. Because I remember watching him at San Diego State, when you could see the length, obviously, and they would put him at the top of a trap defensively.
Yeah.
You thought, wow, that's pretty impressive for a guy 6'7", 6'8", to be out there at the college level, out there defending people in a trap and a press. But offensively, who could have seen that coming?
Nobody really saw that. So once again, for the Spurs staff and the way they develop guys, and now to continue to develop into an MVP in the finals, I think is huge.
And credit to
Probably wish
Kawhi.
they had him.
No,
Right now they do.
Kawhi Leonard as well, because a lot of times we talk about a team or franchise and how they grow and develop players. Kawhi has gone far beyond what the growth and development would have been for any player, what you would expect for a player with his profile. He was a Southern California All-Star when he was coming out of high school. People forget that. It's not like he was some afterthought recruit.
Right.
He just decided to go to San Diego State. That fit his personality, obviously.
Yeah.
He wasn't looking for the spotlight or some,
Right.
Because he could have went to UCLA.
He could have went to a lot of other places, I'm sure.
Didn't, yeah.
But give a lot of credit to Kawhi Leonard as well for putting in the work and grinding away to become the player he has, because I think it would be too easy to just say, well, it was he went to the Spurs. It was going to work out perfect. It could have worked out like this for him in a lot of places when you look at his skill set and his desire to be great. He might not want to talk about it, but there's no question about his desire to be great.
No, I'm not knocking his work ethic, but considering where they drafted him, all the teams that passed on him before they got to him,
remember
the
the
fact
narrative?
that they drafted, that they traded
Let's
to
have
get
some
him.
more fun with it. Remember, the Spurs were in love with who?
George Hill.
Yeah.
Remember, that was Pop's guy, developed him the same way. He says, wait a minute, there's a 6'8" guy, got a big old hand like this. We're going to go get him.
No, good. But the point being, clearly they saw something there, and they wanted it, and like they've done so many times, they pulled it off. All right, lots more to get to here on Game Time Week. One way to measure that, the usage rate, which for those unfamiliar is basically how many of a team's offensive possessions end with a particular player's action. LeBron's usage rate is exactly where it was last season with the Cavaliers, but when trying to develop the talent around him, is that too much? Well, LeBron isn't sure.
Magic and Kobe know who I am. I know who I am. They know what they're going to get out of me. That is, you know what you're going to get out of me every game. Am I going to play well every game? Am I going to shoot the ball well? No, but you know who I am, and when it's really, really, really money time, you know who is going to be there. So, we got guys that just want to continue to develop and guys that continue to, get better and better just from experience, that they haven't had a lot of experience. So I think that's, people are trying to blow it out of proportion, like, okay, why do you have LeBron if you don't want to use them as much? Guys are just, they don't understand the logic behind it, but it doesn't matter. Like you guys asked me the other day, like, do you feel better after playing 30 minutes compared to if you play 40 minutes? It's like, no. I work myself all year round to get in tip-top shape all year round. I don't stop. So I can do whatever. I mean, I played a Game 7 in the finals, and I damn near played every minute of it. Last year I played every single game. So, you can kind of slice it how you want it, but I understand what Magic and Kobe saying, and we have to continue to develop these guys, because if we don't, then long term, what does that do for our franchise?
Wait a minute, who started this story again?
Well, Magic Johnson kind of started the story, which is why he referred to him. Magic, of course, is the president of the LA Lakers at this point. Kobe Bryant, in another interview, was asked about LeBron and his role, and both kind of hinted at the same idea that when you're developing a young team, as the Lakers are, there's a balance between relying on a superstar like LeBron James and trying to make the young guys better and helping them learn how to win on their own. Magic said we can't, basically, I'm paraphrasing, can't do what we did in Cleveland or what he did in Cleveland moving forward. And Kobe said this is not a recipe for a championship. In other words, you got to develop these other guys if you're going to have a championship caliber team and not just a superstar guy.
But what he did in Cleveland, what's wrong with what he did in Cleveland?
Seems pretty good.
But he did not have a Ingram or a Kuzma in Cleveland too, did he?
No, he had more experience.
He had more
experienced guys, right?
Right. So that's why much as I love Magic, I'm trying to figure out what story is he trying to tell us, because it's apples and oranges. When you talk about,
I feel like I get his point.
But stay with me, Matt. But if there was a Kuzma, if they got rid of their young talent, they got rid of Bennett and they got rid of Wiggins. So
they never had Wiggins. They brought in Kevin Love because they wanted more experience.
Exactly. So that's why I'm still stuck with. There were not two guys when he came back from Miami. There was not two young guys there trying to develop. It was just Kyrie, and you went and got Love. You had J.R. Smith. You had veteran guys. So that's why I'm a little off versus Kuzma and Ingram. Ball were there. That they were the team. LeBron came a free agent. LeBron comes in. Now it's time to reshuffle the deck and say, wait a minute, are we developing? Are we trying to win? Because we have LeBron now.
And I understand what Magic and Kobe are getting at. They're talking about the long-term opportunities for the Lakers. But there is no long-term beyond LeBron.
LeBron's 34.
Well,
LeBron's not 32 or 28.
Whatever LeBron's life is in terms of that contract he has with the Lakers, that is as far out as I'm planning.
Sure.
And what the Lakers are thinking about and talking about is a franchise, a heritage franchise now, 3D, that's used to being a contender.
All the time.
And for the past 5 years, they've been in the wilderness.
Right.
So now you have LeBron back, and you automatically start thinking, well, how do we make this last for another generation and another 10, 15, 20-year stretch that you're used to? That's not how it works with LeBron.
Right.
You maximize what you can while LeBron's in that Lakers uniform, and then you concern yourself with the pieces after that. And that's just what Magic's getting at. He doesn't want it to be a situation where if LeBron's not out there, the power's out for the Los Angeles.
But Matt, like we talked about last week, though, if that's the case, that's why you built this roster the way it is. That's why you got Lance Stevenson, Rondo, and all these mixture of older guys on one-year deals.
Yeah.
And then you have your young guys, somebody you want to build around.
Those are stopgap guys.
Yeah, so it's you're asking, hey, LeBron, come put us there and show us how to win, but then again, you don't play so much so our young guys can play and develop. So it's like
they're walking a little bit of a tightrope
exactly,
in LA, the way they've gone about this. To me, when LeBron arrived, this was always about 1920.
Yes.
It was never about 18-19 because they don't have a roster that's going to win a championship more than likely. You never know what's going to happen, but almost nobody outside of LA would tell you they're going to win a championship.
And I agree with LeBron.
They were trying to set this up.
Yeah.
I
agree with LeBron. His usage rate is exactly the same as you pointed out.
Exactly the same.
So it's not like he's completely changed the way he operates.
Right.
He's doing what LeBron has done for, as long as we can remember. He's doing it with a much different cast. Think about it. When he left Cleveland the first time, went to Miami, they reassembled the pieces in Miami to cater to LeBron and to win right away.
Right.
Did the same thing when he came back to Cleveland, bringing in Kevin Love, had Kyrie in place. The Lakers did not move heaven and earth to add those other pieces. No offense to Rondo, JaVale,
No, but that was
everyone's
concern when he arrived was that the other pieces didn't fit his game.
Did not fit his game. And I think that's where the Lakers are looking at. They're looking at it from a lens and not wanting it to be what Cleveland looks like in the aftermath of LeBron leaving, instead of focusing on what it should look like when LeBron is there.
There you go.
I took it to mean that they're hoping when this comes to fruition, which again to me is next season or the season after, that the young stars will be ready to contribute in a conference finals, in an NBA finals. You're talking about Ingram and Ball and Kuzma.
So that, with that being said again, but isn't there a reason why they have all this extra cap space because they're trying to bring in
for the other star, right?
So Magic, once again, are we developing, making sure of this, or are we trying to bring in another superstar?
I can answer this for you.
You see what I'm saying?
I can answer you. Want me to answer?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
and it's
they're
clear
trying to do both things.
Exactly.
Yes. And you can't do both.
And it's very difficult.
Because how can you sign LeBron max, bring in two superstars max, and keep all three of those young guys?
You have to have a situation like Boston had, where the timing
of contracts, and
$8 million draft picks,
and then eventually you end up losing somebody.
Right.
There's no way you can keep everybody.
I do feel
well,
like
that was part of why Julius Randle is no longer in LA.
But I do feel like this is the manufactured drama that comes with having LeBron James on your roster.
Right.
So welcome back to the spotlight, Los Angeles Lakers. This
Right.
is what it feels like.
Better talk about that than
to
nothing.
be in the
right?
headlines all the
It's better
time
talk
which
about
is
this than
for something that
nothing.
might be absolutely nothing.
Right.
But welcome back to the headlines.
Which leads us to our next topic, which is Kevin Durant's comments about LeBron on Bleacher Report with Rick Bucher. Interesting thoughts from the #1 free agent available next summer. Keep that in mind when you read what he said. Said the Lakers may have a hard time finding another star to play alongside LeBron, in part because of what a start might have to give up on the floor, and partly because of the strain of entering the Kings' orbit on a regular basis. Quote, so much hype comes from being around LeBron from other people. He has so many fanboys in the media. I'm hurt, Kevin. Even the beat writers just fawn over him. I'm like, we're playing basketball here, and it's not even about basketball at certain points. So I get why anyone wouldn't want to be in that environment, because it's toxic. First of all, it sounds a little petty, right? From Kevin Durant. I mean, a little bit, right? The fanboy thing.
Am I a fanboy now? I'm in the part of the meeting now. Players only, baby, LeBron. Oh, no, that's next. My bad. That's next.
You're waving a mirror. I don't
I couldn't
that's
find
a
a
tag
fan.
that's
I was
followed
kinda
LeBron
couldn't
for years, Matt.
Sure, and I understand both points. First of all, in terms of style of play, if you're a high usage rate player yourself, Kawhi Leonard, for instance, maybe playing alongside LeBron James doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you. But the second point, for a player who doesn't want to be a part of all the stuff we were just talking about, there's probably something to that.
Yeah, there's an army of guys who have covered all of the seminal stars in these. You know, Kobe had a bunch of reporters that people thought were fanboys of his.
Sure.
Shaq.
Clearly, there are people who
Shaq,
made
too.
careers off Shaq, off Michael Jordan.
Yep.
You know, you can run down the list. Magic. There are guys still writing books about some of these all-time great players. So I get what Durant's talking about. This is more of that thin-skinned persona that I think a lot of us perceive Kevin Durant to have. But unfortunately, for some people who don't like it, there's a lot of truth in what he's talking about. You know, and we're just not used to another player of this caliber saying it. Kevin Durant is clearly not shy about telling you exactly what he thinks. And if it doesn't jive with what everybody wants to be the narrative about LeBron or whatever other topic he's talking about, it's going to ruffle some feathers. But very interesting when you consider what his presence will be on the free agent class this summer and the fact that the Lakers are going to be one of the main players.
Well, and he certainly signaled to the rest of the league,
Message.
not the Lakers.
Message.
Scratch them off the list. Right?
Message.
Unless he's got us all fooled, you know, that seems to be a telegraph to the rest of the world. Okay, not L.A.
And to Sekou's point, Matt, for once we have one of our superstars being transparent and being honest.
Oh, I love the quote. It's great.
And
yeah.
you
just don't want to be a fanboy. I don't want to.
No, I don't want to be accused of being a fanboy, right?
Yeah, I couldn't find it. So come on, KD. I'm not a fanboy. But anyway, but I think it is a big message for all those people who are thinking that, oh, he's definitely going to run to LA, he wants to play with LeBron and all that. I think that was a good message that that's not one of the places he's going to look at.
By the way, equal time, Kevin Durant, you are a great, great player.
Hold on.
There you have it.
Come on, fanboy.
Well, fanboy
Come on,
accent.
fanboy. Yeah, come on, fanboy. Yeah, come on, fanboy.
There you go. By the way, players only coming up. You got the Lakers, right?
I told you, I knew he was coming, LeBron.
Are you going to be
fanboy, LeBron? I'll be
Are you
there.
going to be in LA or are you going to be in Boston?
I'll be in LA.
So here's the thing. At the end of the game, if you get LeBron, you got to ask him something really hard now.
Oh my goodness.
Something really uncomfortable.
LeBron, do you usage rate too high? Are you playing too much?
You got some time.
Do you
Got some
still
time to
love
work on it.
basketball?
Make sure you got his T-shirt ready, fanboy.
Are you a great leader?
Coverage starts at 7 Eastern time with the Auto Trader pregame show. Pelicans, Celtics, Heat, and Lakers Monday on Players Only. Coming up, the man who took attacking the rim to a whole different level, reliving the Shaq attacks that left NBA rims unplayable. Next.